Sipping on some teaser. What's up, my dudes? So we got some sort of outdoor national tracks coming out for MX vs ATV All Out sometime soon. I don't know exactly when they're going to do that, but I've been looking at their Instagram and there's apparently some new tracks going to be coming out at some point here. So yeah, they say on their page, they've got like two different posts there, and they say, I think it's like two new motocross parks and four new motocross tracks. So I don't know if that's just, two different kind of like motocross biome styles, and then four tracks, two different actual tracks a piece on each one of those biomes. It's kind of what I'm thinking it is, but I'm not 100% sure there. So either way, I just wanted to kind of give my little predictions on what I think you're going to be seeing in those tracks. And by the way, how the hell do you get the nighttime Ricky Carmichael Goat Farm track? I saw a couple of videos on that. I can't figure out how to do it. I looked on the DLC page, can't figure out how to do it there. I just did a damn Axel Hodges come up short and do a stoppie, but I can't figure out how to do it. Is the track's not even out yet? Is the nighttime goat farm track not even out? Because I don't know. Let me know in the comments how the hell to get that, because I've seen some people on it. I don't know if they had just some early access or whatever. I thought it would just be in the game automatically, like I could just go in there and select Goat Farm nighttime or whatnot, but I can't figure out how to do it. I feel like it's like right in front of my face, but I can't figure out where it is. Sometimes that happens. Some of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, but and then I started like thinking, is it a mod? And then I don't think it's a mod, but I can't figure out if it's like more DLC that you buy for it, or if it's just in the game, or if it's like a different, you go in there and change the time of day somewhere. I don't know how the hell to get it, so if someone can explain that to me, that'd be cool. It may not even be where you can get it yet, I'm not sure, but I don't think the nighttime Ricky Carmichael track has anything to do with these four new motocross tracks that are coming out in some sort of DLC that they got. So all they say is coming soon. They made two posts here pretty recently, kind of got me a little bit excited for it, because I think you're going to see a lot more like the Goat Farm style motocross track in this new motocross DLC than you are like how the game was when it first came out, how the super flat tracking vibe, very little rut design, it didn't feel very realistic at all. Like basically no pre-made ruts whatsoever. You guys know how bad some of the motocross tracks were in this game when it first came out. So I think you're going to see a lot more of this style to it. I think that's kind of, that it just seems like that's what they would do. Personally, that's what I feel like they're going to do. So, yeah, it'll be a lot of fun to ride on them, man. Just check them out. But it just... how MX vs ATV All Out's been coming out with all this DLC, man. I'm like super shocked at the amount of DLC that they've came out with. And you just can't help but think, like, man, like you start thinking about, well, what's the next MX vs ATV game going to be like? And, is that going to have a track editor? Maybe it won't have the track editor on the console version, but maybe it'll have one in the PC version like Reflex. You start, all these thoughts run through your head in any of these motocross games when you start talking about the DLC aspects of it. And it's like, maybe that's why some of them don't put a track editor in there, because basically once they do that, you can't really come out with more DLC, because, your user-created content just absolutely way overrides any sort of DLC that you could possibly have, right? Like, it'd be silly to have a track editor and then you've got 1,000 custom tracks coming out all the time for a certain game, all different kind of biomes, all different kind of track designs, and then they try to come out with DLC that you got to pay for that's more tracks. That would be insane. So maybe that's why some of these companies don't put too much in on the track editor side of it. Maybe it's a business move. I don't know. But if it comes down to you wanting your game to last, see the funny thing about it is something I think they may not realize is, yes, when you put a track editor in, it basically completely eliminates the ability to add just new track DLC. I mean, you still could, but, it kind of lessens the excitement that would have, and so because you got all these custom tracks for a certain game, right? So you don't have the same punch. You don't have the same impact when you come out with new custom content DLC. But one thing I think some companies may not realize is when you add something like a track editor, I think you're making all that money back that you would have made by having all this random DLC and no track editor, just simply with how many more game copies you're going to sell by having a full-blown track editor in your game. You see what I'm saying? So, and they may not be looking at it in a business standpoint. They may not be scheming like that. I'm just saying that, it's one of those things that makes you start to think about certain things like, man, how much a track editor would have helped this game and how much the track editor did for the official Monster Energy Supercross game. And it was bare bones, about as bare bones as you can get a track editor, and it did wonders for that game. And they actually had their track editor and still came out with DLC on that game. You guys know the little free ride motocross compound DLC that should have been there from the beginning, but okay. Let me say that 69,000 more times. But it's just hard to let them get away with something like that, man. It's so fucking ridiculous. It's like, hey, we're going to have this compound track in all of our motocross games, but this one, we're not going to have a compound track in it, but we're going to charge you for DLC on the compound track later. Yeah, I hope you guys don't mind that. Don't get mad, please. Thanks, appreciate you. God dang it. But, see, they were able to, I got some dude hitting me up. Maybe he knows how to get the damn night track. I don't know. But, basically, like with the official Monceu Supercross game, right, they had their track editor, and then they came out with this like free ride motocross compound DLC, which you couldn't make anything like that in the actual track editor of the game. So it's almost like they sort of played both hands. They kind of got they got their cake and ate it too, right? They were able to have that track editor in there and be like, hey, we got a track editor, but still release DLC that had tracks that there was no way you could make something like that in the track editor. So that's kind of all what it comes down to. But with these new motocross tracks, I mean, we'll see it. Just, I guess when I start thinking about DLC, like how much DLC MX vs. ATV All Out has put in their game, it's cool. I'm not trying to question it, but there's just something so weird that it does to you mentally when you start thinking about, okay, so we got the Arena Cross DLC, right? That was like $7, whatever it was. Then they came out with the next DLC. It was like $7. Then the next DLC is like $8 more. And then the next DLC is like this much more money. And it's like, dog, if you just had a track editor, we would have all of that times 1,000 because you'd be able to make so much more stuff with it, make the game so much better. So many more people would play it. I mean, honestly, I think these AAA motocross games, every single motocross game out there needs to start working its way more towards every single one of them having a track editor. I mean, that's honestly what I feel. Like, seriously, you guys need to advance your systems to the point where you got a track editor in all motocross games. It just needs it. Like, I don't know what to say there. Yeah, basically, that's what I want to see. But either way, we'll see how cool these new motocross tracks are. I think that they're going to be, like I said, a bit more like the goat farms. You're going to get a bit more of those cool little pre-made ruts, your new terrain deformation system on it. It'll be fun, stuff like that. So, yeah, man, it'll be interesting to see how the new tracks turn out. But it's just like, you get that thought in your head, like, damn, man, like, we could have had so much more content made for this game already if it had just had a track editor, And it's like, you just go down that DLC route, and it's like this endless rabbit hole tunnel that you feel like you're never going to actually make it out of. That's what DLC is for games. You think you're adding content, you think you're putting more into it, but it just, there's no real proper finish line when they start adding DLC. It's like, yeah, they put this in there, that in there, that in there, and everything you got to pay a little bit more money for. But at the end of the day, it's like eventually they're going to stop making DLC and there's going to be no more DLC, and then that's it. That's it for the content, right? But when you have a track editor, it's like you can have content made for that game from now until the end of time, right? MX Simulator, made a decade ago, has still got track content coming out for it every day. Free track content. You don't even have to pay for it. You don't even have to pay for it. And then we've got MX vs. ATV All Out over here that's coming out with this couple, 3 or 4 motocross track DLC, and you got to pay for that. You got to pay some extra money for that on top of the money that you already paid for the game. But I don't know. It's just such a weird thing it does with your mind, and I respect it. They're still working on the game. Trust me. It's not me mad about that. It's just, it is so weird when you get a motocross game that doesn't have a track editor. There's just something about it that it just feels so empty. It feels like you're on this treadmill that you're never really going to get anywhere. You know, the game's never really going to get anywhere without a full-blown track editor. It's just not going to happen. It's just never going to happen. So I really hope they think long and hard about that when they start making their next MX versus ATV game. And I know they watch some of my videos, so hopefully they'll see it. But yeah, and I mean, maybe even if you, like I said, even if you don't want to put in all the resources to make it work on a console, which I know is probably a task and a half, and that's why your milestone motocross track editors are so simplistic, right, is because they have to try to make it work on a console, which it's cool and all to have it on a console, because I know a lot of people play on consoles, but you got to understand that, like, true editors are on PCs, and that's not me. That's not like, you know, that's just the way it is, dog. I know some people look at it like it's unfair that the PC gets this track editor and the consoles don't get a track editor on a game or whatever, but dude, that's not our fault. Like, I wish everybody could have a full-blown track editor, consoles and the whole 9 yards, but consoles suck ass when it comes to performance. They just do. They're nothing like a PC. They're just nothing like that. It's not like having a mouse and keyboard. They can't have the same editing stuff that a PC would have to it. So that's what you got to understand, man. Like, it's not about being unfair. It's simply a PC can handle 10 times what a PS4 can handle or an Xbox One can handle. And that's just the simple truth of it. So I don't see why you hinder and restrict the entire game's ability to get bigger and its entire influence and everything that the game can be, just simply because you want to try to keep it fair for consoles and PCs. So don't put a more advanced PC track editor in there. That's fucking retarded, dog. Like, why do some of you guys think like that? It's stupid. Like, stop. Like, that's what I'm saying right now. Like, the next MX versus ATV game, if you can't put the resources in there to make that track editor work on consoles, that's okay. As long as you got one on PC, you're going to make a lot of people happy, man. As long as you, kind of like how they went down the road with Reflex, you know. Reflex had no track editor at all on consoles. Literally at all. There's none. But there is a full-blown editor on the Reflex of PC, and it made that game last 5 times as long than it would have without it. So that's what's amazing about that, when you start getting that full-blown PC editor element of it. But either way, I don't have a whole lot of information on these new motocross tracks. I just wanted to come on here and kind of chitty-chat about it. I was hoping to get on that nighttime goat farm track and got to ride on something different, because I've never rode on it before, but I can't figure out how the hell to do it. I don't know how to do it. I don't know if it's like, got to go in there and hit some little special download. I don't know if I'm in the wrong menu. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I can't find it. So, yeah. A little bit weird, but yeah, dude, either way, hopefully these new motocross tracks will be fun. They'll be fun, but it's like they'll just be fun for so long, and then it's like, okay, what's the next thing? Then they got to pour all these resources into another DLC for MX vs. ATV All Out. And it's not to get it twisted. Like, I want to remind you guys, I have all the respect in the world that they are continuing to try to work on their game and make it better. And, you know, they realized the motocross tracks sucked really bad at the beginning, so they're trying to make that better. Terrain deformation improvements. I mean, I'm very impressed with how much they have stuck behind this game and really tried to keep on improving it. But you just keep, what's in the back of my mind is all this time and effort they keep pouring into these DLCs. It's like you could be putting that time and effort into the next MX versus ATV game that's got a track editor that you can make anything with. You see what I'm saying? It's like my brain just damn near shuts off when I start thinking about DLC and the next DLC, because it's like an endless road that you're never going to make it to the end of it. Whereas when you throw in a full-blown extensive track editor in there, you've got every potential of that game lasting forever instantly. Then all you got to go in there and adjust is physics or, you know, other little issues. But if you make a full-blown track editor, you don't ever have to worry about making, you know, track changes, because your user-created community does all that at that point. You see what I'm saying? So, but either way, hopefully they can get us a track editor in the next game and stuff like that. I mean, I admire their passion for it and how much they're trying to put into it and all that, but at some point here, we're going to have to, advance something more. Like, we're going to have to start working on the next game and start, thinking about a full-blown true track editor for that. And I think that's their ticket to make their game really stand out above, like, the next, milestone motocross game, Supercross 2. Because its track editor is probably not going to be super, super extensive on PC. It's just probably not. Like, let's just be honest. So if MX versus ATV, the next game comes out and it does have that super extensive reflex style editor to it, that may be what gets them up and above. That may be exactly what does it for them. If I was the head honcho at MX versus ATV, that's what I would be scheming up right now. Straight up. That's what I would be thinking about. Like, okay, our main competitor over here, Official Monster Energy Supercross game, right? Okay, what are we going to do exactly? Well, first of all, don't make your bikes, your OEM bikes in your game DLC, because your other competitor out here gives it to you for free. So don't put yourself in a hole instantly like that. Just don't do it. Come out with your OEM bikes in your next game and don't charge DLC for that. Promise you, people will respect you way more for doing that. And what your other game company that you're competing against has is a track editor in its game, but it's a more basic style track editor, right? So your only real way to come ahead is you're going to have to go in there and make a full-blown extensive track editor. That's the only way that's the only thing I see MX vs. ATV being able to do that's really, really going to pull them ahead of, Official Monster Energy Supercross Game 2. And just overall more so content, like, more bikes, more styles of tracks, all that kind of stuff in the default base version of the game, and then having that full-blown track editor, woo, boy, we'll bet you. Talk about, really being some competition at that point, and the game's really starting to develop and push forward. That'd be awesome to see that. So either way, we'll check out these new motocross DLC tracks here in the near future, but any DLC past that, it's going to have to be something crazy to really impress me on this game. I mean, I'm just kind of to the point where it's like, just ready for the next MX versus ATV. I'm not really trying to play all out anymore. It's the same way with the Official Monster Energy Supercross game. It's like, I'm just not really trying to play the first one anymore, man. I don't know. I just get bored of them games pretty quick because there's no, just that, like I'm saying, there's just certain aspects that make certain motocross games feel endless, and a lot of these newer games just seem to not have that. But I will say this. I played this game and the Official Monster Energy Supercross game a lot more than I did play like some of the motocross games that had came out the past 5 or 6 years, right? Like Supercross Encore, MX vs. ATV Supercross, MXGP2, all that kind of crap. I played some of these games that they've came out with here recently longer than I did those, so they are stepping in the right direction. I just think they need to get a little bit more of a leap going here for me to really get into them to the point where I want to just sit there and make content on it, right? And a full-blown track editor is one of the best ways to do it. So either way, man, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.